Thanks for joining us on a Friday night. It is 10:44 here, and we are going to recap an unfortunate tragedy that we have been dealing with today, and really what the state of Vermont's law enforcement community has been dealing with, particularly Rutland City Police. Fox 44's Matt Holderman is outside now, the Rutland City Police Station. This news conference just wrapping up. We heard from Lieutenant Colonel Jim Whitcomb with the Vermont State Police, and then Chief Brian Kilcullen, who you could tell here was kind of fighting back tears and fighting back emotions. Matt, if I could, you were in that room when the officers walked in. We first saw Adam Silverman, who is of course the public information officer for the Vermont State Police. Can you kind of tell us what the mood was, unfortunately, in that room, and how these officers were unfortunately carrying themselves?
Right, Lauren. Well, it's a mood that is really hard to put into words. I think the best way I could put it is just very somber and sad and just overwhelmingly quiet. It was the exact same at the actual scene of the crash when we were there earlier today. I mean, you go anywhere else in the city and you can hear the noise of cars, noise of a city, but then you go to that scene and not a single person was saying a word. All just hanging their heads very low. It was the exact same up here. Again, they are dealing with a lot here today with the loss of Officer Jessica Ebenhaus, and only 19 years old. I can't. It's a tragic day, and yes, you could feel it in that room.
The other things we learned about her today: she became an officer on May 23rd, was supposed to start field training in August. Chief Brian Kilcullen told us that she had wanted to be a police officer since she was 9 years old, always smiling. Her grandfather chaired the police commission so many years ago. I know you asked a question when it came to how people can help. Are people asking you, bystanders and neighbors on scene, just what this department needs at this hour?
Right, a little bit, yes. There was, I would say, at least half a dozen folks on scene where we were stationed earlier on, and you could tell they were very concerned with what happened. I don't believe that any of them knew any of the people involved in the crash. I think one of them at first told me they suspected it could have been their friend who was with the police department. I don't believe it did, in fact, end up being their friend, but yes, there was a ton of concern at the scene there. People staying there for hours on end, even though none of the folks involved in the crash they knew directly. So as the chief said too, you could really feel the community support. He mentioned people had brought food to them already tonight, taking care of their meals just hours after learning about this tragedy. So I would certainly expect a lot more of that outpouring in the coming days, and that's certainly the message that I wanted Chief to relay to all of our viewers here tonight.
Also, Matt, the officer who was in the vehicle with Officer Ebbinghausen, that individual is still hospitalized right now, from what I understand. Are they in Burlington?
Yes, they are in Burlington. I'm here in the University of Vermont Medical Center, and the good news here, to give a little bit of good news, if you didn't hear at the press conference, or news conference rather, none of these injuries are life-threatening. They do believe the officer that was with Ebenhausen and is now at University of Vermont Medical Center should pull through from their injuries. And another officer, a third one involved in this, we heard, was also brought to the hospital, but also already released and injuries treated. So yes, they are in Burlington. One of them still getting treated at the hospital.
Matt, I'm going to wait for more specifics when it comes to a written release from Vermont State Police, when it comes to explaining exactly the nature of how this pursuit started. I believe this pursuit covered just 2 miles. The individual here who was the only one in that white or silver truck is Tate Rayom, 20 years old. He, correct, is still in the hospital?
That is, I believe, what we have heard. Yes, he is still in the hospital. Did take some notes here. I do believe that we heard his injuries are also not life-threatening, and I do think he is also at the University of Vermont Medical Center with that officer that was in the car with Officer Ebenhaus at the time of the crash. And you could certainly tell by looking at the truck that Rayun was driving, as far as we understand it. Would imagine his injuries are pretty severe, although they are not life-threatening. That truck was completely destroyed, to just put it bluntly. So certainly he is getting treated, and there's a chance he could still be getting treatment there for a while.
Of course, the crash reconstruction team was on scene for a better part of the afternoon. So when it comes to the details of what happened and frankly what happens next, we still have a lot to learn. Matt, I appreciate your reporting on scene, and we will see you again at the top of the 11 over on ABC 22. For now, we're going to take a quick break.